Okay. You guys want to bitch about why I'm late and shit? You want to say, "Oh, why are you late? Why are you late?" I'll tell you why I was fucking late, okay? Um, First of all, I I was in the bathroom, okay? I was taking a number 2 and it wasn't very pleasant. Okay, it wasn't very pleasant. It wasn't very nice, wasn't very pleasant. Took a long time. That only explains why I'm like uh, 40 minutes late, right? 40 minutes over. Why am I streaming so late today? The truth be told, the reason is actually because I've been doing a lot of research today. Um, and I've been like I just got into this rabbit hole, like this deep dive of fucking research, which I actually think I wanted to present it on stream today, but I literally couldn't finish because there's so much. But I really wanted to study BlackRock, right? Because I talk a lot about BlackRock, and believe it or not, um, I haven't actually studied it all that much. You know, I haven't studied things like that much. You know, it's kind of funny that a lot of people accuse me of being like, "Oh, Haas, you're so fucking ignorant. You don't know anything about anything." But they never call me out for the things I actually don't know. Like, for example, I am not very well read on the ruling class. I don't really know. Um, I can't really give you a map of like how it's all connected. Like the Democrats, Republicans, respectively. How the what is the I keep using the word the establishment, right? Believe it or not, and nobody's called me out for this, but I have never actually embarked on a scientific um mapping of the establishment. I've never done that, and I do want to do that. That's something I want to do. Few things is pretty interesting is that I didn't know this, but BlackRock is actually enemies of Soros. Soros and BlackRock are not friendly with each other. So another issue studying this stuff, by the way, too, is that there's so much dark money. There's so much money that circulates where you don't know who's funding what and you don't know where it's coming from. And there's a lot of there's even BlackRock itself, the way it's run is pretty mysterious. It's like, you know, a lot of the time you don't really know. It's not very easy to fucking map all these factions out, but nonetheless I'm committing to it. And that's pretty much what I spent most of the day doing today is that I've been doing deep dives, kind of researching that. BlackRock mainly does passive investments. Yeah, that's something I noticed. But nonetheless, we have to kind of ask this. I want a more scientific view of like where I think BlackRock is the center of finance capital. Like it's the symbol of it. If it's not itself the center of it, it's the symbol of it, right? But a lot of people talk about Soros, right? And believe it or not, Soros isn't the only guy. There's also Weiss, WYSS, the Swiss billionaire Weiss. What is it? The Weiss, what is the fucking thing called? Weiss Institute or Foundation, whatever. No, Foundation. Weiss Foundation. Yeah, so that Weiss Foundation, is that the one? Yeah, the Weiss Foundation. I barely ever hear anyone talk about that, but there's a lot of dark money that I've been tracking also just through this website. It's pretty common. It's pretty like well known. It's called the Jesus Christ. It's called the oh, bear with me. It's called Influence Watch, right? And it actually has a lot of information on that website. I've been reading up on that website a lot, you know? And also interestingly, a lot of this came from me looking more into the institute that got me deplatformed. So the Center for Accountability is pretty huge, but those are Soros people And then I kind of realized I started to take it less personally because I realized the hit piece they did about me was part of the broader campaign being waged by the Center for Political Accountability against not only Amazon, but big tech, but especially Amazon. So the Center for Political Accountability has been at war with Amazon for a long, long time. I mean, they're trying to expose Amazon and they're trying to go after Amazon in the best way that they can. And their little report about me was only one part of that. It was only like one detail of that broader campaign. It's still the latest thing on their front page is the thing that I'm on. But it's actually about this kind of broader campaign against Amazon that they're waging. And what's interesting about it too is that, you know, the campaign against Amazon, it puts it into perspective. Why did Twitch freak out and ban me? It wasn't because they were all coordinating. It was because Twitch was like, oh, fuck, our enemy is now releasing another hit piece on us. We better respond, right? So, but then you know, you also have to pay attention to Elon Musk and Amazon are enemies. And Elon Musk is also an enemy of BlackRock, too, as well. So it's like, there's just all of these competing forces. It's just, I really want to have a more scientific and coherent understanding of this. So that's why I didn't really stream, right? But I'm still streaming for you guys. I'm still going to stream. So I also didn't eat all day. I went to the gym, worked really hard. And then instinctually, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to have a big ass double cheeseburger and some fucking fries. So I ordered some fat ass food. I ordered a fat ass meal and I just pigged out. And I'm still kind of tired from it. A lot of carbs. Yeah, it's almost like I was fasting. It's almost like I was fasting, except the burger was not halal. So how am I fasting? But then again, only Shias care about halal food, right? I wasn't fasting. I was not fasting. And I didn't fast. I broke the fast when I woke up. When I woke up, I had like a protein snack. And I also had water while I was working out. So it's not that I was fasting. It's just that, you know, was dealing with other stuff. Anyway, guys, today I don't really have a lot of news or if any to report. I do kind of want to talk about one thing before we get into our struggle session, and that is Madison Cawthorn. So there's been a new hit piece against Madison Cawthorn, and this time they're trying to make him look like he's not straight. They're like, oh, let me read to you this fucking article because it's ridiculous, right? Madison Cawthorn. Look at the Daily Mail's shit. So they're like, Madison Cawthorn is caught video with male schedule his hand on his crotch as new ethics complaint. So this is what they're like. They're like, Cawthorn sits in the driver's seat and says, I feel the passion and desire and would like to see a naked body beneath my hands. So you're thinking this is like a porno and this is so scandalous and this is so fucking steamy. Bro, this is like what my haters say about me. Because I watched the video and he's joking around. He's literally like joking. He's like singing and it's like a joke. And why would they film it if it wasn't a joke? But it was very clearly a joke. It wasn't fucking serious, right? So when I saw this Daily Mail article, it kind of gave me some flashbacks. I'm like, you know, these remind me of the Autobots that attack me. Because I got Autobots that attack me, and I'm not allowed to be ableist, so I'm going to use the word Autobot. Thank you, Tunioi. Thank you so much, man. This is what the Autobots are always saying about me. And then I realized something. it may not be because they're Autobots. It's literally an op. It's a psyop. They do these malicious campaigns trying to smear your character, and it's very rare that they'll outright make things up about you, although that's very common in my case, but like they'll describe things you do in a way that makes it seem way worse than it actually fucking is, you know? And that's like a classic op tactic. I mean, I always say this. This is two possibilities. You're an Autobot and you can't perceive tone and whatever, or it's a psyop, right? And I really sympathize with this Madison Cawthorn guy because I go through this bad faith attacks as well. And I know why he's going through these attacks. And we're also the same age. He's 25, I'm 25. But I know why he's going through the attacks. We know why he's going through all these fucking attacks. It's because he exposed the Republican establishment. He exposed them for their orgies and their cocaine and for them being fucking corrupt and shit. And that's why they're doing all this shit against him. That's why they're doing all this. And it's so transparent. And I hope this boosts his popularity. I hope no one buys into this bullshit. And it makes me sympathize with him so much more than I did before. It makes him really trust him more than I did before. Because I'm like, you know, they're really coming after you. They must consider you dangerous. You must be a real one. You must be one of the ones that aren't bought out. He's going to be on Hasan. Yeah, I did see that. And want to commend Hasan for reaching out to him. I think that's a good development, actually. I think, you know, as long as Hasan's good faith, I think that's a good development. You know, I can't say I find that particularly upsetting as a development. Although Jank is just fucking crazy. Jank is like screaming about how he wants to go fight in Ukraine and he wants to go beat up bishops or some shit. So I know you can't blame Hasan for Jank, but that Jank guy is fucking crazy. I'm sorry. And he's cringe as fuck, right? Anyway, guys, that's really all I wanted to talk about as far as news was concerned. But I want y'all to get cozy, get comfortable, because we're going to have a CPUSA struggle session. We're going to get into it. We're going to get into our struggle session, and we're going to get right down to business of addressing the problems, right, of the CPUSA. So I'm gonna kick it off, actually, and I don't expect the Twitter space to be that poppin' tonight, because I started so late, but nonetheless, still have something going on.
Infrared. Salute the guerrilla army.
Thank you so much, you. Thank you so much, brother. Appreciate it. So let's start this space, and okay, we're gonna skip that. Okay, we're gonna start that space, and then we're gonna. There we go. All right, we're good. All right, we're ready to rumble. So let's just wait for people to join, and then we're gonna be in business. We're gonna be in business. If you're already watching the stream, you probably shouldn't join at all because you're gonna get better audio from here. All right, let's take it away. Let's go ahead and take it away. So, you know, everybody chill. We're going to get cozy. We're going to get comfortable. And we're going to start our struggle session. And it's going to get heated. It's not going to be comfortable at first, right? It's going to get very heated, you know? So let's go ahead and do this.
Another struggle session.
Oh shit, Voidburn, thank you so much for the dono. Holy fuck. Voidburn, thank you so much, man. Voidburn, you know, I don't want to put pressure on you, bro. I don't know, you know, you've donated so much already. And I don't want you to have to feel obliged to donate so much, you know. You've donated a lifetime's worth of gratitude for me, you know, already. So, but thank you so much. I appreciate it so much, man. Thank you. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate you.
Base.
That's Voidburn. He's the infrared oil prince. He's the dark money behind infrared. So, and thank you so much, Young Caesar, as well. So let's get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. All right, everybody. Welcome to the CPUSA struggle session. But I don't want you to get too welcome because this is going to be serious business. And today we're laying down the hammer and I'm going to air the dirty laundry of the CPUSA leadership. And we're going to do something tonight. We're going to make a critique of it because we make a critique of it so that we can prove it the next time. And we keep critiquing it until we get it right. And that's what we're setting out and we're aiming to do today.
2 + 2 is 6.
So y'all get ready and buckle up. Thank you so much. What the fuck? What is going on? Thank you so much, Wayne King. And thank you, Not Random. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all. Thank you so much, guys. And that's why we're Maoists, right? And I don't know, we're not Western Maoists, but we're a type of Maoist where we recognize the significance of Mao Zedong thought and the contribution he has made to the history of Marxism-Leninism. Y'all understand? And you know, this is a joke, struggle session. Yeah, it's a little meme. But I'm being for real here because we do have to have this struggle session. We do got to deal with the issue of why the CPUSA isn't a party of millions and millions and millions of people and why the gatekeepers are preventing this from becoming a mass movement that is going to be the preeminent and premier party of the American working class. There's no fucking excuse. Anyone who wants to sit here and tell me there's a fucking excuse, go ahead and request so you can tell me there's a fucking excuse. Go ahead and request and give me your motherfucking excuses, because there should be none. It should be none. It's been over 100 years since the October Revolution. We got a Communist Party USA that's literally smaller than the Magic the Gathering Foundation. It's literally smaller than the Yu-Gi-Oh! Convention. It's literally smaller than an anime convention. It's literally smaller than a motherfucking furry convention.
And
there's no excuse for that. Thank you so much, Finny. Appreciate you so much for the dono. Thank you so much for the dono. And if you want to say it's an issue of money and it's an issue of funding, you can't say that because the CPUSA has buildings, historic buildings that they own in downtown Manhattan. They own a 7-story building. I mean, they pretty much got as much funding as anyone would ever fucking need to get something going off the ground. I'm a random dude from Michigan, but just because I've applied Marxism-Leninism correctly in the age of multipolarity and media theory, I have been able to understand. I have been able to understand how to do this shit. I've been able to understand how to grow something, how to grow bigger than the CPUSA does. So there is absolutely no excuse. There's absolutely no excuse whatsoever that we can salvage or we can get from this bullshit. You understand? So anyway, continuing on from what I'm saying. The thing you have to keep in mind is that the CPUSA never went through its cultural revolution. They never adopted Mao Zedong thought. They never become a party of the working class. They're a party of gatekeepers, of professional managerials, of bureaucrats. They tail the Democrats in an age of overwhelming distrust and dissatisfaction with both parties. They don't even critique the two-party system. They tail the Democrats and they tell us, oh, we can only choose between the Democrats and the Republicans. And it all becomes vote blue no matter who. And it becomes a fucking vehicle with which to help Biden get elected or help the latest fucking Democrat get elected. How much longer is it going to take before we're going to start seeing this pro-war fascist turn of the Democrats have the CPUSA come out and just support anybody who's blue? Anybody who's blue. I mean, they can't even see the historical realignment that's going on right now. You don't got to agree with Trump, just like we don't agree with the Democrats. But can the CPUSA at least recognize as a positive development, at least the lip service that Trump was giving to anti-imperialism? Because that's not nothing. That's not nothing. You don't have to support Trump, just like I don't think we should support the Democrats. But you talk about something, you should acknowledge that here for the first time you had a mainstream candidate critiquing the wars and critiquing American foreign policy and then critiquing our interventions abroad and promoting that they want peace with Russia. These are all commendable things that the CPUSA should be praising. And if they're not going to praise it, They should at the very least recognize it as a positive development that there's this, and then now there's a significant portion, 50% of the population is skeptical about the pro-war narrative of what's going on in Ukraine. That's a positive development. Oh, but no, you don't agree with them on cultural issues and dumb bullshit like that. So you're gonna what? You're gonna sacrifice what is the primary contradiction that we're facing today, which is U.S. imperialism. And that's another thing that we need to have a struggle session about, and we need to talk about, is that the CPUSA doesn't understand the distinction between primary and secondary contradictions. It only seems like they recognize one type of contradiction, which is, everything at once. It's just everything's a fucking primary contradiction. Toilets and genders are a fucking primary fucking contradiction. Abortion's the primary I mean, you can't even, and sometimes it's as simple as saying something like, get your damn priorities straight. Anti-imperialism is the primary contradiction that we're facing today. Thank you so much, Bodega Man. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you so much. That's the primary contradiction that we're facing today, and it should be the premier focus of the CPUSA's efforts, at least in terms of mapping on and understanding, having a class analysis in this country, the forces positioned against imperialism in this country, whether they come from the petite bourgeoisie, whether they come from the working class, hell, whether they even come from some factions of the bourgeoisie, are objectively a more progressive element than the imperialist bourgeoisie or the imperialist ruling class. I mean, this is a no-brainer, right? Why is this something we even have to discuss when this is a very basic Maoist position that's been held for a very long time? Thank you so much, Chris Morlock. Appreciate you. This is something Lenin talked about. Lenin talked about how imperialism was the primary contradiction. Lenin talked about, as a matter of fact, how communists should be aligned with the democratic petty bourgeoisie that was opposed to imperialism, that was opposed to the imperialist ruling class. So when you want to talk about popular fronts, I'm not a Trotskyist. I don't believe that the Communist Party should have a position of class isolationism where they don't recognize the need for a broad popular front that does cut into other classes besides the working class. But they got it all wrong. They think that the popular front means entering into an alliance with the fucking Democrats, which are the premier party of U.S. imperialism, rather than trying to align themselves with the plethora of forces positioned in this country, class forces in this country, positioned against the two-party system in general. The populist currents in this country that are skeptical of both. Because the Republicans are bought out and they're the establishment, and we know the Democrats are bought out and they're the establishment. I am not an ideological fanatic. I understand that bourgeois democracy is something that communists have to take a role of defending. That Stalin's last speech was a speech to the communist parties of the world, telling them that they have to take up the banner of defending basic bourgeois liberties. So I agree with that. But the Democrats and the Republicans and the imperialist establishment, they don't represent bourgeois democracy. As a matter of fact, they represent the forces that are day by day, inch by inch, encroaching upon every last democratic bourgeois liberties that we have, from our First Amendment rights to their monopolist economic rigging to all sorts of fucked up activity that they're engaging in when it comes to spying and surveillance and censoring journalists. I mean, look what they did to Julian Assange and the rest. Look at things like the Patriot Act, right? Look at these new laws they're trying to pass surrounding domestic terrorism because of what happened on a date that I guess I can't name on fucking Twitter. Thank you so much, Nodbrand. Appreciate you so much for the 10. These represent principal obstacles and threats to any semblance of bourgeois democracy. Right, but the CPUSA's leadership has slanderously accused us of engaging in some kind of Trotskyist critique of them, where we're saying, oh, they don't like how we're allied with the Democrats. They would just prefer that we be some kind of sectarian, dogmatic people who don't make any inroads with the masses. No, that's not fucking true. But you have to recognize that the democratic bourgeois struggle, right, that they're going to be aligning themselves with isn't going to be coming from the Democrats. It's going to be coming from a broad populistic momentum. And remember the lesson of Lenin. It's the Mensheviks who wanted to side with the big liberal city bourgeoisie and who got too cozy with the cadets who were basically the equivalent of Democrats in Russia at the time. And actually, Mensheviks aligned with cadets using the excuse of the Black Hundred threat. And they literally used that excuse. And what did Lenin say? He said, no, that Black Hundred threat that you're talking about does not justify the degree to which you have entered into a coalition with the cadets, who were the party of the city, urban, and liberal big bourgeoisie, right? What Lenin reproached the Mensheviks with saying is that, yes, the proletariat alone is not strong enough to carry out a revolution, which is why we need to align ourselves with the democratic petty bourgeoisie who are in the countryside, which is the peasant element. It's the peasants, the people who are hungry for their own land, who want to become small capitalists of the future. Those are the people we align ourselves with, not the big city liberal bourgeoisie, because as Lenin pointed out, whatever historically progressive role was played by the bourgeoisie, that is not represented by the big city bourgeoisie that is in bed with the czarist autocracy, right? That's represented by those peasants who represent the embryonic capitalist class, a new capitalist class in its infancy that hasn't become a capitalist class yet. And we see a similar phenomena in this country. The Democratic Party and you can't even really call them a capitalist class anymore, because it's a class of rentier feudalistic monopolists who don't operate on the basis of any real profit, like value generating profit principle anymore, but are these rentier monopolists who are sucking the real economy dry, or any semblance of it, and the structure of their revenue is completely different from the traditional structure of capitalist revenue, which is based on the exploitation of living labor, right? So you're dealing with that type of capitalist class right now. And that's the class that the CPUSA is effectively telling us we have to tail behind when they say that we got to go and get behind the fucking Democrats. Now, I understand the need for pragmatism. I understand the need for being realistic and not having your fucking head in the clouds. I understand that you need to be able to recognize that you can't just have one ideological party that's positioned against the whole of society. But from a scientific socialist perspective, we can see there is a broad, populistic, democratic type of discontent with these countries' ruling elites and with the direction this country's in going. And it's based in this kind of classical bourgeois democracies, increasing encroachments upon our basic bourgeois liberties, upon our First Amendment, upon things like that. Though that's the progressive bourgeoisie that we have to be aligning with, not the fucking people that are in power that represent some kind of return of fucking feudalism, right? And you'd think this would be common sense for the CPUSA. And most pathetically is that they keep using this excuse that somehow, the reason is because we need to make we need to make inroads with the masses. And if we go your path, Haas, we're going to become marginalized. No, you won't. You're marginalized right now. The Democrats see you as a fucking embarrassment. They don't want anything to do with you. And every time you endorse them and try to help the fucking Democrats, the only thing they reproach you with is by saying, hey, stay away from us because we don't want your endorsement because it makes us look bad, right? So it's like they have no fucking excuse for their policy of tailing the Democrats whatsoever. There's no excuse at all. And then you talk about trying to make inroads with the masses. Well, I'm sorry. I used to watch and stream almost every single one of their little like public meetings, Good Morning Revolution, which is the national committee of the Communist Party. They used to stream these meetings where they're like, oh yeah, we're going to talk about the latest events of the day. I'm sorry, I'm going to go ahead and insult them, and I'm allowed to insult them because I'm not in the fucking party, so I'm not subjected to party discipline. If you are in the party, don't insult the leaders. You know, it's still the party that you're in, but I'm going to do it. These are a bunch of stumbling, mumbling buffoons. These people don't know what the fuck they're doing. I've watched their Good Morning Revolution shit, and they literally sit in a fucking Zoom call and they just throw out ideas about things that they should have actually read up on and that they should know. You know, you got Joe Sims out here. He's going, so Rosanna, isn't that right that in 1991, the Soviet Union, it was dissolved and Russia's not the Soviet Union anymore. Isn't that right? It's like, yeah, I mean, you should be able to have a real coherent analysis of what's fucking going on here, which you should be providing to your fucking, you shouldn't be just spitballing ideas and speculating. I mean, How are these leaders? How are these leaders of a communist party? It's a fucking laughing stock. It's absolutely a fucking joke, right? And then you got Anita Waters, who's like the liberal of the fucking National Committee, where she's like, oh, and I really find it so contemptible that what Putin's doing, and you guys, it's like she sounds like any other fucking like old white liberal lady that you fucking see at the library. She sounds like an old white lady librarian or some shit that you just randomly just, like an NPC character that's pre-programmed. I mean, you can't seriously sit here and tell me that these people are serious about building a working class movement. They are so out of touch, not only with the working class, but even with the youth that are expressing some kind of interest in communism. They don't know how to relate to people. They don't know how to spread, they don't understand this information age. And they keep wait. Then what they do is they're professionals at wasting time. Every single one of their Good Morning Revolution podcasts is a waste of fucking time. It's like if you're forced to attend that, you would walk away learning nothing. All of their education seminars are not actually about equipping their members with the ability to analyze the world, but equipping them with the ability to recite the right empty and dry fucking verses in order to like virtue signal their fealty and loyalty to the organization. So we have a really big fucking problem on our hands. And if we keep going down this path, and I've said this before, the Communist Party USA as we know it is bound to dissolve. And that's just the thing. I've heard whispers and I've heard things that they're planning on retiring that party. They don't want to keep that party running anymore. They're starting to sell some of the historic financial assets of the Communist Party. And I think that's their ultimate goal, is to kind of like keep it on a lifeline and then slowly pull the plug one day while no one's looking, and then everyone's just gonna fucking forget about it. I don't think that should happen. I am a communist. I'm not a democratic socialist. I'm not a so-called socialist. I'm not a so-called social democrat. I'm not a fucking progressive. I'm a communist with a capital fucking C. And I think it's just about time that we would restore some dignity to that word and restore some dignity to that name and have a serious and real communist party in this country. And I don't think that's so much to fucking ask. I don't think it's so much to ask that we should have a serious communist with a capital C party in this country. And we're not democratic socialists. We're not progressives. We're not social democrats. We're not this or that type of socialist. We're not Democrats. We're not liberals. We're communists with a capital C. That deserves to have its own party. That deserves to be its own political current. It deserves to be its own political party, because we have a unique way of looking at the world and understanding the world that all these other so-called leftists don't. We don't have a party. You call yourself a communist, you're basically just a fucking liberal or a progressive who's flirting with some edgy ideas. And if you're serious about it, then you're going to understand what I'm saying, that we need a fucking communist party in this country. It's not rocket science. If we are communists and we're serious about it, we need our own serious communist party. They have democratic socialists, they have liberals, they have progressives, and none of them have any semblance of scientific socialism. None of them have any semblance of being able to muster any kind of fucking class analysis. And the worst part of this whole fucking thing, if it couldn't even be worse just from that, is that these same people have renounced the scientific socialist method of class analysis in favor of let's just let the American academic university's notions of intersectionality slowly colonize our ability to have proletarian consciousness and scientific socialist consciousness, and let's make all these concessions. Oh, so guys, historically, we used to be a very white-centric party, and now we're going to start talking about indigenous water preservation techniques. And now we're going to start talking about how we need to take race more into account and gender more into account. And motherfucker, why don't you start with taking class into account, which is square one, which is what you failed to fucking do. All you're doing is flirting with all these lib shit ideas that are funded by the CIA and which come from American academia. Where have you ever actually given us a fucking actual scientific class analysis of what's going on in this country? Sure, you're very good at creating all these broad narratives about the American working class is rising up in this country. Ain't that right, Rosanna? That's an empty, sloganeering, meaningless phrase. Where is the scientific socialist analysis of the class struggle that is now taking place that can produce a tangible and specific analysis of the situation that is not politically and ideologically loaded with lip-shit Democrat prejudices already? Where are you actually having an objective analysis of what the fuck is going on? Can I listen? Joe Sims is the leader of the Communist Party right now, right? If I called him up, and I'm not going to insult him. He's never insulted me. Anita Waters has insulted me, so I'm going to insult Anita Waters. If I called Anita Waters up, can that stumbling, mumbling buffoon tell me what BlackRock is? I'm going to say, hey, Anita, what is BlackRock? What is the answer she's going to give me? Hey, Anita, what's Amazon? What does Amazon mean for capitalism? What does that tell us about this new age? What would she tell me? She would tell me nothing. And yet she holds the keys to the power of the party deciding its future. And these stumbling, mumbling buffoons who don't know what the fuck they're doing are holding this great historic party hostage to what? To the fucking Democrats, turning it into a fucking interest group for the Democrats. The most pathetic part of all is that the Democrats don't even want them. And then here's what's the most egregious fucking thing that's just unforgivable, because I've been talking about this shit for a long fucking time. The most egregious thing is that since the Ukraine crisis with Russia, the Communist Party has decided they've acknowledged that the Communist Party of the Russian Federation has provided a perspective in which they're trying to tell them, hey, we've been calling for this to happen 8 years ago. You don't understand the situation with NATO and the United States. Come say, well, we've heard you, but still, we're going to say both sides are bad. Both sides. What do you mean both fucking sides are bad? We are very close to a nuclear war right now. It is very possible that one wrong move and the U.S. is going to get involved and it's going to be the end of fucking civilization as we know it. You should be doing everything in your power to combat disinformation and misinformation about what's going on in the war. You should be doing everything in your power to try and educate people about the truth of what's happening in Ukraine, but they're too fucking scared to do that, and they're pussyfooting around the need to do that because they're really scared of the partisan implications of that, because it makes the Democrats look bad and it makes the MAGA faction of the Republican Party look good, because that's the only fucking mainstream faction in American politics right now that is telling the truth about what's going on in Ukraine. And I'm sick of pretending that that's not the fucking case. I'm sick of pretending like it's not the MAGA Republicans who are the only ones telling the truth about what's happening in Ukraine. They are, objectively. And that's okay. Just because you agree with them about something shouldn't be seen as somehow dangerous or worthy of suspicion or worthy of some kind of fucking contempt. If they're going to denounce war and they're going to denounce the imperialist state machine in some capacity, then you should join them in doing that. It's very fucking simple. Now, I'm not saying you have to wholeheartedly trust them and follow through with them. After all, they're more sympathetic to Russia. They're not very sympathetic to China. We all fucking know that. We should keep that in mind. But when you come to a point of convergence about a primary contradiction, which is imperialism, with a significant portion of an existing current in American politics, that should be ground for building a bridge instead of pussyfooting around it and being like, oh, well, the blue check Democrat mainstream media is saying Putin is the devil and this is being divided along partisan lines, so we're going to just ignore what the Communist Party of the Russian Federation is saying and we're just going to pursue our own lip shit American analysis. I mean, it's an absolute fucking embarrassment. Now, we all know the Communist Party is infiltrated with outright feds. We know that. We know that Taron Fivek, who is single-handedly the most influential voice in the party, because Joe Sims doesn't know what year it is. Anita Waters still doesn't know if she's awake or sleeping. And Rosanna is still in a green screen in some fucking bunker underground in Langley, Virginia, So it's Taron who's like, Gen X. She's kind of cognizant and aware of what's going on. She is literally a Fed. And she is in the ear of the National Committee. They literally listen to everything she fucking says. She tells them we have to prioritize abortion. She tells them that there's this Duginist menace and Duginist threat that's trying to take over the Communist Party. And it all goes back to Dugin fascism. Listen, motherfuckers, I got banned from Twitch. Every single one of these motherfucking leftists hate me, and I hate them too. Why the fuck do you think I would be scared to come out as a Duganist if I was a fucking Duganist? If I came out as a right-winger or a Duganist, I would get way more popular than the dumb shit that I'm fucking doing right now, telling the truth. I would get way more money. I would get way more popular. I would get way more of everything. I'd be way more fucking successful if I were to just say that shit. But I'm stupid and I tell the fucking truth, and that's what puts me in this awkward situation where right-wingers don't trust me and leftists fucking hate me because they think I'm a right-winger myself. The goddamn truth is that I've wore it all on my fucking sleeve. I read Dugin. I like Dugin. He's very brilliant. He's very smart. Is he an idealist? Yes, he is. Is Dugin, is he a Marxist? Does he understand scientific socialism? No, he doesn't. But guess what? Marx drew from a plethora of thinkers that he didn't agree with about everything about. He drew from all sorts of idealists. He drew from all sorts of people that he didn't even agree with politically, even though Dugin politically he's not even that fucking really bad, honestly, and especially as far as Russian politics are concerned, right? But Terran is trying to blame it on some fucking boogeyman and say, oh, this is a Duganist plot to take over the Communist Party. Terran, shut the fuck up. If we literally just decided to make a fourth position party, we could probably make it bigger than the Communist Party. The Communist Party is the most rundown, decrepit, and almost hopeless party that exists in fucking America right now. We're latching on to the Communist Party not because we're Duganists who want to secretly take it over and we're going to hide our Duganist beliefs. It's because we're communists. And that's our fucking home. If you're a communist in America, your home should be the Communist Party. You stop pussyfooting around and being, oh, we're going to do DSA entryism. DSA entryism? What? Why? Tell me the logic and rationality of that. If you're a Marxist-Leninist and if you're a communist, why the fuck are you associating yourself with the goddamn DSA? Why? Because they're popular and they have the name socialism in their name? Well, guess what? There was the National Socialists in Germany. They had the name socialism in their fucking name. Does that mean you have to go and engage with them just because they're giving new light and credence to the fucking word socialism? No, you don't have to do that. We shouldn't be ashamed of calling ourselves communists. We shouldn't wear that with some kind of shame, be like, oh, that's going to scare away the American masses. No, it's fucking not. The word communism is cool. It's interesting. I mean, even if it did scare people away, that's just temporary. You gotta, what did they say in the Communist Manifesto? The communists disdain to conceal their views. We disdain to conceal our views. We wear it on our chest and we wear it on our sleeve. We don't sit here and try to hide what we fucking are and bow our heads down in shame and say, oh, communism is scary. That word is scary. No, it's not fucking scary. That's a glorious word. That's a glorious word that's attached to a glorious history. And it's time we defend that history in this country because guess what? It does have a history in this country. Communists in this country played a very noble role in its history, a role that's worth defending and preserving and carrying on into the next generation. And yet the CPUSA and its leadership is more concerned kissing the ass of the Democrats and throwing this new youth that's joining the CPUSA like lambs to like sheep to the fucking slaughter to the Democratic Party, sacrificing any semblance of working class independence or dignity on its own part. And it's absolutely pathetic that they've allowed literal feds like Terran Vivek to infiltrate the party and basically control its direction and turn this party into a what? Tell me what, materially speaking, has the Communist Party ever assumed a position that's deviated from the Soros agenda? That's deviated from the fucking Arabella Advisors agenda? Has it ever deviated once from that agenda? Has it ever questioned that agenda? Has it ever taken a position contrary to their agenda, that so-called progressive agenda that they have? No, it fucking hasn't. It absolutely hasn't. They don't have any new ideas. They don't have any ideas for the future. They don't offer anything to the American people. And they're in a very unique role to do that because we're facing a change comparable to the change that Marx was witnessing in the 19th century. We are witnessing a transformation comparable to the rise of industrial capitalism in the 19th century. That's how profound this change is. Communists should be at the forefront of being able to make sense of that change instead of fucking tailing behind the Democrats and the ruling class. Now, I know there's so-called Communist Party members in this fucking space, and I want you to step up and justify and explain the horrific, inexcusable behavior of the leadership of the CPUSA, and go ahead and defend the current direction of the party. Go ahead and get in here and tell people why they should agree with the current line of the party. Go ahead. Go ahead. And if you're a member of the party who wants to speak out and share your experiences and expose the bullshit, go ahead and speak up. Tell us about what's going on. And don't be scared of getting repercussions, because we're going to start the struggle sessions. We're going to storm the fucking headquarters, and we're going to raise hell in this goddamn party until we turn it into a party of the working class, of millions and millions of people, a party that it's deserving of the name Communist Party of the United States of America. So why don't we get people to go ahead and request, to go ahead and either justify the current trajectory of the Communist Party or share their experiences within the party. And because we need to start talking about this shit. I know a lot of you hold it in, and you hold in a lot, and you don't really reveal all that much because you're scared. You don't want to make the party look bad. The party already looks bad. So let's air out the dirty laundry and let's bring it to the fore, because there's no way to make this private. There's no way to make this private because they haven't given us any private outlets with which to critique them. So we're going to do it all in public. We're going to do all this in public. So I can't see the request to speak, so I'm going to appoint a co-host. So I'm going to invite Ezra to co-host and see if you can. Also, Prism, I'm going to invite you to co-host. You can bring people in and we could talk about this problem, because all right. So we got Rev Z. And why don't you add a voice changer as well so they can't identify you? But Ezra, go ahead and let these people in, because we're gonna get the ball rolling, and we're gonna storm these headquarters, so to speak. Yo, Ezra, can you hear me? All right, I'm gonna bring this guy on. Yo, hello. Hello. Go ahead, unmute yourself.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Absolutely. Okay, so absolutely fantastic, and I love the power of, especially. Okay, so you started off talking about being a Maoist and stuff like that, and so one of the things that I absolutely love about Mao is the power and the voice relative to the creation of the party. Okay, and so when you're talking about especially the political situation the left has, is the left has this sort of really insolvent voice. And so when you're talking about the situation and you're using that power of voice, when you're saying the party should be strong, when you're saying we shouldn't be ashamed of being a part of the party, these are powerful things, and it's a beautiful thing. So I'm strongly supportive of that. So why did I unmute the thing? Is because you're pointing out a lot of issues, and this is just the bug that I want in your ear. Is there a broader is there a broader leftist movement? Okay. So what do I mean by that? So whether or not it's communist, socialist, progressive, is there a broader movement? Is there a broader undercurrent? Even if we have these divisive issues as the left, and especially this is the thing too, and I'm hoping that comes out in the right as well. Is there a broader undercurrent in this country of seeking a party, seeking a movement, seeking a situation where we as Americans, where we as the left, as the right, is all peoples in this nation seek to coalesce around a party. In whatever reason there is, we as Americans, and as you've noticed, a lot of the things that you said that the right of America is pointing out are the things that we're all talking about. Um, it's like we're all looking for something, and so when you're talking about these divisive issues or the divisive nature of, because I forgot who exactly you called out on it. Oh, it wasn't the CPS USA, but you did that a little bit. But when you're talking about people who don't really know exactly how to do it, um, just a bug in your ear. Is there a broader movement that is all of us? All of us, are we all looking at the American state in a Leninist manner and saying, does the entire goddamn thing need to change? And
Well,
so when you're looking at,
people are not at that state of consciousness yet. But what there needs to be is a tribune of the people that has that stance and confirms that stance through latching itself onto the contradictions that manifest themselves between the American people and the status quo, including the state that exists right now. So that is broadly called populism across the board. The problem is that leftists are scared of populism because populism is not ideologically it's not ideologically clear. It's ideologically vague, and that chaos scares them. They're scared that that there may be Nazism there, and they don't learn from Mao that you're supposed to trust the people. You're supposed to have this fundamental trust that yes, it's very possible there can be a quote unquote problematic things that come from that. But you still have to trust the people. You have to have enough confidence that you're going to be able to provide leadership and you're going to be able to actually correctly articulate people's consciousness instead of those other people that they fear.
I absolutely love it, man. I'm gonna actually remute my mic just because I want to listen to the rest of it. I absolutely love it, bro. But what I want to say is, you said that there isn't that consciousness. Um, I think there is, man. I think there is that budgeting consciousness, and I think it's there, and I think it's an undercurrent. But otherwise, like, I love it. I'm just gonna sit back and listen for the rest of the show. Thank you.
Okay, for sure. All right, Prism, if or Ezra, if you can hear me, just let people on as speakers who appear to be Communist Party members. And the other criteria is persons of significance. So if somebody's got 0 followers, that means they got nothing to lose. You know what I'm saying? So we don't want to get those people with, those weird people, those bots. We don't want to get any bots on. You understand? So go ahead and let on some of these people. Prism, can you hear me?
Yeah. I'm trying to see. It doesn't let me see other people.
What about you, Ezra? Does it let you see anyone?
Can you hear me? First of all,
Sorry, your mic's really quiet.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if it's a problem with my accounts. It's being very, very weird with spaces, and I don't really like. How do you check the request?
Oh wait, okay, I found. There's a button with 2 people. So you click.
Yeah, I see that, but I only see the speaker, co-host, and listeners. I don't see Is anyone requesting or no?
You go through the listener, see if there's any CPUSA people. That's how we do it.
Okay. I see 48 people, and
See, these people don't step up. They don't step up and defend themselves because they know they're in a bankrupt position. And they're holding that whole party hostage and they know it's a road to nowhere. But I just want to let y'all know something, just in case you didn't know this. We're not negotiating with you right now. We're giving you an opportunity to show how Haas is wrong. Because Infrared's people are already in your party. We are already in your party, and we're in almost every single one of your chapters. And that's a non-negotiable fact. So what you have the opportunity to do is confront us and address us, because we're there anyway. We're not asking for you to let us in. We're already in that bitch. So you can either defend yourself, or you can sit and wait and see you become smothered into irrelevance. Either way is fine. But it's better overall for there to be honesty about what's going on. Nobody can seriously defend the current trajectory of the Communist Party. And I've invited Joe Sims and whoever else may be so inclined, and they haven't gone back. He keeps obsessing over Caleb. Like, Caleb's got nothing to do with this. This is all Infrared. This is me. This is Ezra. This is us Infrared people. We are the ones who got the intention to take over the party. So I think we're all blocked. That's the real issue we're facing here. So I'm going to make Samira a co-host, and maybe she could see people. All right, Prism, I'm going to temporarily remove you and add Samira as a co-host. So... because they just block us. They just outright block us. But we got time. Add him as a speaker. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Go ahead and unmute yourself. And
Among Us.
all right, maybe we do got to do that id poll shit, because maybe we should do some identity politics. Maybe we should do some identity politics, because we got to ask the question of which group finds that funny. Because it's not mine. It's not my identity that's got that sense of humor, finds that dumbass shit funny. So maybe we should do some identity politics and interrogate the situation, because that's some very settler behavior. Maybe we got to pick up some Jay Sakai and see what the fuck is going on with that settler behavior. Yeah, I mean, anybody wants to give credence to the need for some identity politics, it's these damn leftists who are pushing identity politics. Yo, Samira, can you hear me?
Someone's hold on. I think your mic's off. It's
Mine
showing
is?
me that your mic is off, Haas.
Is my mic off?
I can hear you.
Okay, now everyone seems to be fine. What were you saying? I didn't hear you before.
I was just saying, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right, so let's go ahead and bring in the next contestant. Can you see anyone requesting?
Yes. Is American Zapatista CPUSA member?
Yep, go ahead, bring him in.
All right. He's connecting.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead and state your business.
Hello? I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Hello? I can't hear you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can
It's
you
just
hear
you,
me?
Haas.
You can't hear me?
Your mic's in and out.
Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
your mic says it's muted.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
You can hear me now?
Your
Should
yeah,
I?
your
I'm gonna
mic keeps going in and out.
Can I just say a
Pause.
sentence? I'm gonna be quick. I'm not gonna waste time.
Go ahead.
How do you deal with stupid people in the party? There are a lot of stupid people that are very adamant about their stupidity, and it's hard to deal with it. How do you deal with it?
You got to deal with it by, first of all, you got to stand your ground and prove. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. What you got to do is stand your ground, state the truth, articulate things correctly, and trust the fact that you have a more solid and just base to stand on than they do. And be willing to defend that all the way to the end and don't budge. Now, those stupid fucking people, those are the people that only understand power and they only understand that kind of shit. But the way this shit works is that at the end of the day, there is a way to convince a majority of the correct path, even if that means bringing people into the party. Because that's what we're doing. We're packing the party with people who've got some common sense about them. And more specifically, people who are interested in winning. Because these people, you know, it's not just that they're stupid. They don't want to win. They're not interested in winning. They're not interested in actually getting anywhere. They just want to, you know, have an outlet for all of their social grievances and their grievances in general.
Yeah, they want to LARP. They want to talk about violence. They want to talk about silly things.
Yeah, that's all. By the way, that's all Fed behavior. So anybody who's talking about that crazy shit, you can almost guarantee that's a Fed.
Yeah, definitely suspicious characters for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, that's the best answer I can give you as far as that question is concerned. Let's go
Peace.
ahead and bring on the next person.
All right. There is another person.
Who's this other person? We got N.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, hi.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi. Can I ask you one question, Haas? Can I ask you one question? How can you call yourself an American when America was founded on slave labor? It was founded by the patriarchy. It has no reason to exist, has no continuity whatsoever. But did you call yourself a patriot for the country? It doesn't make sense to me, Pats. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand. How can you represent Russia, an imperialist country, historically fascist? How can you represent these countries, Haas? How can you represent the oppression of these minorities? How can
So
you do
it
that,
don't
Haas?
sound like you're looking for an answer because you just loaded your question with a bunch of bullshit. So how do I respond
What's
to
the
a
bullshit,
question?
Haas? I don't understand you. That's what I don't understand about you. When you think you're so tough with your beard, and you think you're so tough, you talk about all the stuff about the Communist Party, but you actually represent the patriarchy, you represent racism, you represent fascism. You don't represent anything in reality. You represent nothing. You represent nothing.
So what the hell does my beard got to do with this? Go ahead and explain that. What the hell does my beard got to do with all this?
Hods, you know exactly. Hods, you know exactly what I mean by the beard. It represents the patriarchy. It represents misogyny. It represents this fake identity of the American man that's patriarchal and oppresses women, transsexuals, the marginalized community. This is what you stand for, Hots. You have the Russian flag in your bio. Explain this to me, Hots. Why do you represent Russia, and why do you call yourself an American patriot? When these countries have done terrible things for thousands of years, Hots.
Well, what's an
Explain that to
example
me.
of a country that hasn't done terrible things in your view?
Africa, the African countries, Hots. The African countries,
What
indigenous
African
communities.
country in particular do you have
The
in mind?
indigenous communities, Hots.
Indigenous
Haz, you're
communities.
muted.
Am I muted?
I can hear him, Samira.
I
I can
you
hear
too.
him.
Yeah,
Please.
indigenous communities have done all sorts of fucked up shit. What are you talking about?
The indigenous communities in America, not to the
Yeah,
scale,
they've done
not
a
to
lot
the
of bad
scale.
shit. What are you talking
Todd,
about?
see, this is what we call gotcha journalism, the whataboutism that you love to use, because they did not do it at a mass scale and globally like America has, and you know that damn well.
So let me
sir.
ask you a question.
You know
all
that
right,
damn
let me
well.
ask
sir.
you a question.
No, let me ask you a question, Hots. Let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
You think you're hot shit, huh? You think you're hot shit? Let me ask you a question. Who do you think you are? Really, who is hot? Tell me.
Haas is Haas from Infrared. So, do you live in this country, the United States of America?
I don't live in this country because this country is not a real country.
So, where do you live?
New York?
So you're living on stolen land.
Hods, but I don't identify with America. I was born here against my will, and I do not identify with this country that does not
What do you mean
exist.
against your will? What does that even mean?
It was against my will, Hods.
So how do you consensually be born?
Hods, what do you want me to say? What do you want me to say, Hods? You're asking me these questions with no answers. Everyone knows what I mean. Everyone knows what I mean. I was born here.
I don't
Just like,
know what
was
you
that
mean.
what you say? Is that what you say to indigenous people who chose to be born in a system that they're oppressed in?
How did
Is that
they
what you
choose
say,
to be?
Hods?
How did they choose to be born? How do you do that?
How do you choose? Hods. You don't. Of course, you don't choose to be born. It's an expression. You know what I mean, Hods. What I'm trying to say is that I do not represent. This country does not represent me. Does not represent anyone except for the
Yeah, but you're still
oppressive
living
regime.
in it. You're still being fed by it, and you're still, you're kind of like still like leeching off of it, basically.
Who am I leeching off of, Hods? Who am I leeching off
Well,
of?
I mean, the workers who built your apartment, like those type of people, or I don't know if you live in an
The
apartment.
workers who built
maybe
my
you're homeless,
apartment
but
are a bunch of
what about
Trump
the
supporters.
What
They're
about
Trump
the farmers
supporters,
that
Hods.
feed you? What about the people who work to make sure you can
Hods.
live?
Hods.
What about the
Every
people who
single
do your
Hods.
plumbing? What about the
Hods.
electricians
Hods.
that make sure you got
You need to stop
electricity
it.
and
Hods, listen.
keep
Listen
things
to this for
going?
1 second.
I mean, I think there's a lot
Hods,
more to a country than
Hods,
just.
I know you love the sound of your own voice. I know you love the sound of your own voice, but you need to stop it for just a second, honey. Okay? You need to stop it for just a second.
Go
Okay?
ahead.
Listen. You say, what about the people that feed me? Do this? Hods. Every time I see construction, who's doing it? Trump supporters, Hods. White, oppressive catcallers are the ones doing the labor of this country. And you know that, Hods.
I think so.
You know
Build your
that.
own house. You can go ahead and build your own house.
Hods. So everyone just has to build their own house? Is that how you think the world should work?
All right,
Everyone
let me
builds
ask
their own
you.
house?
So what do you want? What do you think the Communist Party should do? What should it say that this is our plan? What do you want to do? Go ahead.
We should give autonomy to the minorities of this country for self-identification, and we should strip America of its title. America as a country should cease to exist because it has no real historical claim on these lands.
And how do you go about getting historical claim on a piece of land? How do you go about doing that?
Indigenous communities, first off, indigenous communities, the oppressed minorities of this country, the Latinx, the black people, or the Moors, or the Africans, however you want
Did
to
you
call
just
it,
say the
Haz.
Azra, if I were you,
Moors?
I'm willing to
However
pay
you want to
the
call
$5
it.
to say that.
Give the land back
What are you gonna
to
say
them.
next? The Saracens? I mean, what the hell are you saying?
Give it, Haz. You know exactly what I'm saying.
I don't. What is this? 1421? I mean, what the hell are you talking about? Go ahead.
Haz, the communities. Give it back to the oppressed communities. It's that simple. Don't try
I
to play
asked you a
stupid.
question of how are countries founded in a just way? How does that work?
How are countries founded in a just way?
Yeah, like how do people go about getting, settle on a land and do it justly
Haz, of
in
course,
history?
for the past, within the European colonial mindset, it has been done unjustly. That's the whole point.
I agree with
That's
that.
the whole point.
I agree with that, but I'm just saying.
That's the whole point.
But
You
I
want
think
to
there's
be a
also
barbarian,
I
Haz?
think this
Do you,
is where
do
I'm
you
going to
think you're a
disagree with you.
barbarian?
There's that ugly history we all know about, but there's also a parallel history of people who came to the New World who were religious minorities in Europe, and you can't really say it's like a completely artificial thing. There was an organic pattern of real, civilizational development there. Like you can't just say that this was like some methodical project like Zionism, where it was just this intentional thing of we're gonna go and steal all of this, and we're gonna create this
But
artificial.
that's what it was, Haz. In America, you're saying that wasn't what it was?
That
You're saying
it's
it
not
wasn't the
reducible
eraser of
to
the
that.
indigenous.
No, people
It wasn't
did come-
erasure.
People did come here and settle in ways that are comparable to how any other civilization has settled before Europe. Now the extra shit is there.
So how does that make it better, Haz? You're just making excuses for the oppressor.
I'm
This
not
is what I
saying
mean.
it's
You're
better.
just-
I'm just saying America is a real country. This is a real country. The history isn't completely artificial. There's a real history here.
And what's that history, Haz? Because if you ask the average underrepresented person, they reject this history. What history have they been given? What do they have in this country?
Well, I think they
When
can
this
speak
country
for
was built
themselves. I
on
don't know
their
why
labor.
you gotta speak
When
on
this
behalf
country
of
is built
them.
on their labor.
Do you belong to one of these people?
Yes, I do, actually. Yes, I do.
You mind being more specific?
I'm blood quantum Hawaiian.
You're a blood quantum Hawaiian.
Yes. And my
So-
people were extorted from their lands,
Your people.
and it was stolen from them.
So how much? Okay, so you're a blood quantum Hawaiian,
Yes.
and your people are the victim because you're claiming the Hawaiian people. That's you.
It's my ancestry, Haz. What are you trying to extrapolate? What are you trying to say?
I mean, I don't think that's a legitimate way of establishing, what group you belong. I mean, what, you got a blood quantum of Hawaiian in you? I mean, what does that have to do with anything?
What does that have to do with anything? Haz, that they were my ancestors.
Yeah, I mean, so you feel the pain of your ancestors through that one blood quantum? Is
Yes,
that why?
I feel their ancestral trauma. Yes, I do. Yes, I do, Haz.
And that's
Ancestral
why
trauma. And do you
Is
not know about
Jurassic
ancestral
Park just
trauma,
land
Haz?
back
Do you
propaganda
deny
for
that
dinosaurs?
too? How it's epigenetically bestowed between each generation?
so
you
you're
not know about
saying,
that, Haz?
so let me get this straight. What you're saying is that because you got a blood quantum of Hawaiian, you've been driven to this point of righteous indignation against
Haz,
me specifically.
don't try
because
to play like the smart tough guy. Okay, my own culture. If it wasn't for the settlers that came, I would not be blood quantum. I'd be full Hawaiian. You understand
I don't
this,
think
right?
that's how it works.
You understand this, right?
I'm pretty sure that's not how it works. I don't think you would even be alive, actually.
Why would I not be alive?
Because, I mean, what? I mean, do you not know how that works? I mean, the people who are in your family tree wouldn't have been there and you wouldn't be alive.
Haas, they would have been different people, Haas. They wouldn't have been white settlers.
And it still would have been you.
It would have been Haas. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Maybe me in this form wouldn't be who I am, right? Obviously, I wouldn't be in this form.
What are you
But I would
talking
be
about?
Hawaiian.
Sorry, are you a member of the Communist
Erasure,
Party?
Hodge. I'm talking about erasure. Don't try to be stupid, Hodge. Okay, what's your deal? This is what I don't understand. What is infrared when it comes to this? What is infrared? What do you represent? You're just a virtue signaler, Hodge. That's what you are.
We are.
You don't represent anything.
We are Marxist-Leninists in the age of multipolarity and the post-COVID world. Simple as that.
Wow, Hodge. Wow. That's a nice nothing burger for me. That's nice impossible Whopper.
I mean,
for me, Hodge.
we think
It means
Marxism-Leninism should be retranslated into the West because whoever translated it into the West did a poor job, and that's why we're in the shitty situation that we're in. We got to do a
Then
better
how come
job.
the Russians? How come you love Putler then? How come you love Putin?
Hawaii is for the blood quantum.
I admire Putin because he has defended his people against American unipolar imperialism, and he stood up for the people in the Donbass and the people of Russia against Ukrainian aggression.
Ukrainian aggression, Haas. So if you ask a regular Ukrainian person, they would like Russia?
Depends on who you ask. If you ask a person living in Odessa or Kharkiv or Donbass,
If you ask a regular
absolutely.
Caucasus person, would they say they would want their own
Absolutely. The
country?
Chechens are spearheading the effort in Ukraine. They're the most enthusiastic supporters of Putin. He gets the most support and votes. in Chechnya.
That small minority of Chechens are traitors to their people, and you know it, Haas. You know the average Chechen does not want to live.
As opposed to who? Al Qaeda?
As opposed to Al Qaeda, what does that even mean, Haas?
Well, you're
They've
saying
been
they're
fighting for their
traitors to
independence
people.
for
I mean,
years.
as opposed to who?
Their independence movement was squashed by imperialism.
What was the independent movement exactly?
I don't remember the exact year.
Yeah,
The
but-
revolution.
Wasn't the independent movement kind of tied to Al Qaeda and other groups funded by Gulf states? It's
So,
not really independent if that's the case, right?
so you're saying no forms of foreign help can ever be involved, even if it's Al Qaeda or not.
I mean, yeah, I think if it's Al Qaeda, that's grounds for questioning a few things.
And what evidence is there that Al Qaeda was directly involved? What evidence was there, Haas, for Al Qaeda?
What evidence is there that Al Qaeda was involved in the Chechen wars?
Yes.
I mean,
Give it to me, Haas.
I mean,
You
how,
seem so
how could I give
confident
it to
and
you?
sardonic.
How could I give it to you?
You're the one stating the spaceless claim. I've never heard this before. Of Al Qaeda leading the Chechen revolts.
Well, they didn't lead it, but the same groups in the Gulf who funded, Al Qaeda and also the groups in Afghanistan. I mean, those same people came up to Chechnya and,
So would you not say majority of people fighting for independence were not Chechen? Is that what you're trying to say?
I don't know if that's the case, but I don't really think you can call it independent. But in any case, I didn't know you also got a quantum of Chechen in you or something because.
Oh, good joke, Hodge. Good joke.
No, I'm just
making
saying,
fun of my ancestors. Making fun of my ancestors. My ancestors have been for more than you ever will, Hodge. Okay, stop it.
Yeah. So let me ask you. So you really got a problem with Russia specifically? Go ahead and tell us, what is your problem with Russia?
Hodge, why don't you answer that question for me? Because you know my answer.
No, I don't. Go
Answer
ahead
it for me. No, don't play stupid. You know my answer. Don't play stupid. Answer it.
Don't know your answer. Go ahead and
No, you obviously know my answer. So why do you have to pretend like you don't know?
Are you in the Communist Party?
I am.
So you are actually in the Communist Party?
Yes, Haas. Yes, I am.
So these are the people running around and controlling the Communist Party right now, USA.
Yes, they are.
And y'all
Yes,
ask
they
why we
are.
need a struggle session. I mean, what the hell is this?
What the hell is what, Haas? With a Russian flag in your bio, what the hell is what? So you just want imperialist countries to represent us? You want the CPUSA to be imperialists? Is that what you're saying, Haas?
So first of all, how is Russia imperialist? Go ahead.
I don't know. How about you ask all the former Soviet countries?
And
Haas?
what does that have to do with imperialism?
They were invaded multiple times through revolts.
So anytime a country invades another, that means it's imperialism?
What would it mean? What is it then, Haas?
What is imperialism? I mean, you're a member of the CPUSA. Don't they teach you about that?
Well, that's my definition of it. When one country invades another, what's yours?
So the CPUSA doesn't teach you about Lenin's imperialism. Y'all don't read that or learn about that at all in your curriculum.
Do you want me to pull up a direct quote from Lenin? I don't have that on me, but to put it in layman's terms, yeah, that's pretty much, put it simply, the invasion of another autonomous state.
And that's what you learn in the New York chapter of the Communist Party?
Yes, Taz. Yes, honey.
And they taught you that imperialism is when one country invades another.
Hans! Okay, how about you? If you're so above it all, if you're so much better than it all, why don't you give me why don't you tell me what it really is then? If you're so much higher
Well, Lenin
than it.
describes imperialism as the
Hans,
monopoly.
I can't hear you, honey. Speak up.
Lenin defines imperialism as the monopoly stage of capitalism, which is pretty much defined as the export of finance capital, right? And it's basically represented by the curtailment of the classical political form also of bourgeois democracy and its
Haas
replacement
has a quantum of
with increased
imperialism.
forms of political dictatorship and repressive manners and a new imperialist bureaucracy. And in addition to that, it's also defined by the increasing new role of banks and their creation of revenues based on rent rather than the traditional capitalist profit. So imperialism is, at the crux of it, really about this final stage where capitalism has socialized to such a degree that it can no longer even sustain its own inertia without war. Wars of intercapitalist competition, which allow for this kind of endless export of capital because the creation of value is exhausted through the forces of production. The parasitic elements don't allow and they inhibit revolutions in the forces of production, so that leads to this kind of stage of war. And that's kind of how fascism emerges from the whole thing. So, but basically, to sum it up, I guess in a better way, imperialism, it's like what I said before, it's the monopoly stage of capitalism. That's how everybody usually sums it up.
Wow, Haas. I was really hungry before that, but
Call
now I
our
have a
thoughts on
nice
Cassidy
nothing burger to
Campbell.
eat. Thank you so much, Haas, for a nice nothing burger for me to eat, Haas. I was really hungry before you said that, but now I can eat this nothing burger that you just gave me. I really appreciate
Thank you so much,
that.
Atari. Well, you got to understand that when Lenin's talking about imperialism, he's trying to give us specific
it's
scientific...
through war. Through the funding of war, right?
Well, no, that's just a part of it.
Through the extortion of capital through war?
What Lenin's talking about is a very specific and scientifically understood stage of the capitalist mode of production. It's not defined by invading other countries. It's not defined specifically by war. It's defined by monopoly capital and monopoly capitalism.
Haas, I think the word that the speaker is looking for is expansionism. I think they see
that's
Russia
not
as
what
expansionist.
imperialism is.
Exactly, but where did the speaker go? Did they just leave?
I guess they just left and they just decided to disconnect.
Yeah.
You have the patience of these things. I know you have the
Yeah.
unfair reputation among certain circles that you are this very impatient and emotional guy, but like it takes a lot of willpower to either not burst out or not laugh during that entire process. It's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is always going to be some sort of inconsistency between us and them regarding the definition of imperialism. They're literally just talking about expansionism, and there's also no actual evidence to say that Russia is expansionist.
Well, I mean, look, I could entertain the definition that, in some technical sense, Russia is imperialist, though I'd have a hard time doing it because of its internal economic structure, right? If you analyze it. But what I could not entertain is the idea that Russia's actions in Ukraine benefit its imperialist system, or if it has one, its imperialist ruling class. I mean, that clearly has come at their expense, both economically and
Right.
politically. So that's really the issue we're dealing with there.
Shall we bring in the next speaker? There is someone with CPUSA in their bio.
Yeah, let's go ahead and bring them in.
Okay. This is Soviet space cadet who is still connecting.
Go ahead and speak. This is a seems like
Base.
well, I don't know.
Can you
I can
guys hear
somewhat
me?
hear you. Yeah, I can hear you. I cannot hear you. Go ahead, unmute yourself.
Soviet space cadet. Hold on one
They
sec.
just disconnected themselves.
Oh, okay. Who is next? Oh, Soviet space cadet is back. You have to unmute yourself. It shows that you're muted. Okay. Welcome.
Based.
Go ahead and state your business.
Hello? Okay. Well, I guess this person doesn't want to speak. Is there anyone else? Hold on. Ezra, do you see anyone else in
I see some
the
people.
requests?
Let me.
Okay. Yeah, that's the one I was gonna pick.
Go ahead and state your business.
I'm sorry, you talking to me? My name is Adriana.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Hi, my name is Adriana Machado. I'm from Brazil. I live in New York. I belong to a communist party in Brazil called the Workers' Cause Party. And we have the same discussions that you guys have here, especially about identity politics and the conflict in Russia. And what we see is that I feel like people that think that they use this identity politics to divide the workers' class. It's very clear to us
Based.
that when
Would you
you
eat
worry
cute for $1
about
million?
your identity, how you want to express yourself,
Thank you,
and
Gleb. And guys, if I haven't gotten to your super chats, I will at the
the
end.
patriarchy,
So
like all
rest
these
assured, I will at the end.
words that they really just show the imperialist propaganda that made people divide the workers' class. We recently had a class in our party. We have classes about Marxism all the time, and we studied the history of Brazil, and we questioned this idea that the indigenous people in Brazil should have the right to, for example, the Amazon. That's one of the ideas, that the Amazon doesn't belong to Brazil. It belongs to the indigenous people when there's 20 million Brazilians living in the Amazon, and it's a pretty rich area in Brazil that imperialism wants to put their hands on. So that's an ideology that helps divide the people and in Brazil, and the idea of Brazil itself, of a country. So when I see that same speech here, it's the way we look at it is we're study Marxism, we're study the development of society. So when we think about the indigenous people, of course, there were many amazing things about them, but there are also, when the Portuguese, the white Portuguese European people got there, they ate them. They were cannibals. So it was a brutal, different area that we can't go back to. And when you go to the indigenous places in Brazil, people want toilets. People want to be able to eat. They want comfort. They want to know that they're going to have something to eat. They don't want to go back to living in an era where they don't have security of food. So no matter what, everybody wants progress. We want progress. But the thing about capitalism, the state that we are now, it's disintegrating so much that even here in America, where is the richest country in the world, people don't have food security. But the way to get that is not going back to the past and start hunting your food again. Is like the workers getting together and organizing a party and taking over the government and how we organize society. And when we think about Russia, what we see is a backwards country, that the economy is mainly like the export of oil and gas. That's like a backwards country. So you can't think of that as an imperialist country, because it's not it's not a monopoly that makes a difference in the world, like the US, like the Wall Street, and everybody that we know that it's like our enemy, the class enemy. So that's why we must defend Russia and their right to defend themselves and defend the Russian people in Ukraine, and even defend Ukraine, because Ukraine is in the middle of a coup, the same way that Brazil was. In fact, it was around the same time, in 2014, where everything started in Brazil too. So we need to get together as a working class to fight imperialism, which is our main enemy, our enemy. And I think that identity politics is a way to divert our getting together, the same way that all the propaganda that Russia is an imperialist country, which it isn't. It is a backwards country that is defending itself from NATO. So I think we need to study and understand these issues, and I'm happy to be here and to discuss it with y'all.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what most of what you said, but I don't agree that Russia's a backward country. I think, Russia's getting its revenue from gas. I don't think that's necessarily backward. I think, as a matter of fact, I think that the European economies are very backward in some regards compared to Russia.
What I mean backwards in the Marxist sense, that it's not an industrial. They're not exporting computer goods and like communication and
Oh yeah, you're right.
banks, and
But
backwards in a way that it's like it's the natural resources that make them rich, not industry.
no, you're right. But that is, gas politics shouldn't be underestimated, because that's one of the most powerful forms of economic sovereignty, to be able to independently industrialize. Because industrialization is all about having independent sources of investment capital, right?
Yeah, that's the basis, but they're not there yet because they don't have the industry.
Well, it's not that just they don't have the industry; it's that they have this kind of Western financial capitalist class that's kind of still has a big stranglehold on the economy that kind of prevents the bulk of investments to be made in ways that bolster Russian industry. They're kind of too tied to the global American-led capitalist system.
Yeah, and it's the same with a lot of other countries like Brazil and like, but it mean that they're developed imperialist countries like United
I mean,
States, France, and
well, I think you got to look at the geopolitical angle to it because a lot of countries have to sell their natural resources, but they don't actually own their own natural resources, so they're not sovereign, right? And that makes a big difference when it comes to being able to be a threat to world imperialism, because world imperialism is about the dominance of a specific nexus of finance capital, and independent industrialization kind of upsets the source of that.
yeah, I understand, and I think that's why China and Russia are the targets of imperialism right now because they're challenging the monopoly, and I think that's
Exactly, that's
exactly
precisely it.
why. But I think that's where from what I've seen from the your group, is that we're not on the side of Russia and China as countries. They're um, representatives of communism or socialism, or it's just because they are against imperialism and the monopoly. That's why we're on their side. I don't know if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I disagree. I think China is setting an example, the best example right now of the development of socialism. And
Yeah,
Russia, I think, is getting on its way there. It's nowhere close to it yet, but I think Russia is going to get back on track and learn a lot of things from China if I'm being optimistic. And
yeah, I think that's the main point where we diverge, because we don't consider those countries in any way socialists. I think we consider them as being capitalist countries with some sort of history of worker struggle that is stronger than what we have anywhere else. But by no means they're socialist countries. So the fight of the workers' class is much bigger than Russia and China winning any sort of
well, I kind of
control.
disagree. I think there is a struggle between finance capital and an economy and a mode of production that's centered around fulfilling tangible goals, social goals, rather than profit. And I think that's what socialism is. And I think that's what China represents. I think China represents a type of economy that
I think that's a good thing, but I don't think that's what socialism is.
Well,
I think
what is
socialism
socialism
is
to you?
it's workers in power. It's not a bureaucracy deciding what is better for workers. It's
Sure, but
actually
like,
workers.
so you're talking about the absence of representation then?
No, it's just the different type of organization is
Well, what would be an
the
example of a workers in power with a different type of representation?
it's just the um more participation. I don't know
More what?
exactly. More participation of the workers in making decisions, and
I think the issue with that though is that workers don't workers kind of want to attend to their own pursuits in life, and those participations are that kind of participations are burden, right? I mean, people don't want to spend their time having to decide on things when they just want to get on with their lives. And you actually, as Marxists, the state is a burden. We believe in the eventual withering away of the state because we believe that work should be life's prime want, and that political decisions, I mean, those are not a virtue. Those are just things we have to make, but they're not like things we want to make. We would rather just be able to, develop the forces of production and unleash our creative pursuits as human beings.
I agree. I agree. I just don't think that the models of China and Russia right now are the developed model of socialism. I think they're still part of the capitalist world and pretty much make the decisions in the same way that capitalist countries do, and they participate in capitalist
Well, I
society
don't
the same
necessarily
way.
disagree that there's aspects of the capitalist world. I mean, Marx did say that a new mode of production will have the birth pangs of the old order in it. So, yeah, I mean, I understand that, but I still, I guess it's not of any decisive importance, the disagreement. Although
Yeah,
it kind of is,
I agree.
because it kind of is to an extent, though, because when we talk about in America, you ask people, what is communism? Like, we really use China as a successful example of what communism can look like, right? And the way China can solve problems that we can't here because of the difference of the system, right? Like, they can build high-speed rail and they can plan for things in the long term and have an economy that puts people first. And I don't think that's I think that shows us what socialism or communism can be in a positive sense.
I agree. I just don't think they're there yet. But yeah, it's definitely on the way, much more than America. I agree. I can let other people talk. I can go
Yeah,
back
all
to
right.
listening.
I appreciate your words. Appreciate you coming on. And yeah, again,
Thank you
there's
so much. Thank you so much for this discussion group.
no problem. Thank you so much, bro. All right. You got anybody else? Hello? Samir?
Yes. I see people request it, but how do you actually?
Ezra, turn up your mic. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. I see there are some people requesting, but I seriously think it's just the either I'm shadow banned or because of some weirdness with my Twitter account. Like if I click into someone requested, I don't see any option of bringing them on.
All right, I
Is that-
made Samira a co-host.
Yeah, I don't see any of the requests yet.
I see a guy, Dudu.
I see Lukashenko account. No, that's no longer there. Never mind. Oh, CPUSA in the bio. I'll just add this person. Hello. Yes.
Hello?
Hello. Welcome.
Hey guys. So, has Burger King or McDonald's?
All right. So we're gonna go ahead and
Yeah.
we're gonna go ahead and move on from that one because we just don't got time for dumb shit today. We just don't got the time
Yeah.
for the dumb shit today.
It's already late.
It's a little too late for that dumbass shit.
All right. Yes, unmute yourself.
Oh shit. Oh, damn. How you
Hi.
doing? I guess I should say something. Uh,
Yes,
thank
you
you
requested
for
to speak.
choosing me. I appreciate that. Thank you. I was looking at a chat, not expecting to get chosen because there's like 200 people. But if we're talking about things right now, I want to know what people in the chat have done to successfully organize their communities, workplaces, so on and so forth. Because I see a lot of really smart communists on here, but I don't really ever get anybody with like that kind of experience, you know? So that'd be really useful. Thank
All
you.
right. So what do you mean by organizing the community? So what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, you know, wouldn't it just seems to me that it would be a great time to organize, right? Like, and when I guess what you mean is, what do you mean by organize? I guess organize into some form of political action group, some sort of body of citizens who make a list of demands and bring it before a local, state, or whatever council, I suppose. Just something, right? I don't know. That's what I'm asking, I guess.
Yeah.
Is
So my
yeah.
theory is that that's a very archaic way of looking at how you participate in the class struggle today. I don't really think you can just organize people, at least as far as political purposes are concerned. I think that praxis is a combination of information and then organization. First, you have to disseminate channels of information. And then, as far as organization is concerned, the most efficient thing would be that you have dedicated cadres, whatever how you ever pronounce that, which focus on making the phone calls, knocking on the doors, and doing that kind of stuff. But then, as far as getting people's to do things, I think when you demand less of people, it's better. Like for example, you want to be a mass organization and you want to get people to vote for your candidate, then that's some small time they take out of their busy day to do that. But when you're talking about being a professional revolutionary, which is what we're talking about here, that's like a full-time job. And if it's not a full-time job, I mean, it's like it's one of your part-time jobs. And the idea that you should go about convincing as many people as possible to have this full-time or part-time job, and that's how you organize the masses, it's a really wrong way of putting it. It's a wrong way of looking at it. You're gonna you if you're able to connect to you can't put the cart before the horse. You have to put a vision out there. You have to have something worth fighting for first, which masses of people can relate to in a way that's doesn't just involve having a full-time job in it. Most people don't dedicate their lives to politics. So again, you're talking about small time out of people's life, right? To do something that's as least invasive and as least a burden on them as possible. And it's really going to be a minority of people that are doing the thing you're talking about, right? And what that should really be looking like is fielding candidates. Pack those candidates. The Communist Party, you want to talk about real world stuff, you should look at the example of Steve Estrada in Long Beach, California. Imagine if there was 1,000 Steve Estradas. Imagine if there was 10,000 Steve Estradas, right? He's got people that they go door to door, they raise awareness, they hold events, they talk to people in the community because that's where it's going to matter, because you need to get those votes to get people in power. So that's a good example of shit you do on the ground, but you need that media and information apparatus to be able to direct that in a way that's not going to be, because the community level, that's really elections, right? because elections are going to come from local constituencies. So that's how you're going to target local communities. But as far as getting people to be involved with a communist party, you have to use the most advanced form of the means of production of information. Now, Lenin and them didn't use newspapers because they loved paper and they loved the smell of newspaper. They did it because that was the most readily available form of the dissemination of information at the time. Now we're in the information age, right? So, yeah, you do got to be able to, change, and and I don't really think the party form is equipped to understanding how to operate because the party, you're used to sitting around and voting on things and then implementing decisions in some kind of top-down way, and that's just not how the internet works. The internet works in a more decentralized way, and also we don't live in an economy where it's like you're just giving commands to masses of people, like through a one-way radio or even a one-way television, right? There's feedback loops. There's such thing as digital armies and online armies that form, and online identities that form. There's all sorts of examples of that. So you've got to be able to understand that we live in a very, very different time. You need the theoretical tools to even understand that. The problem is that right now the Communist Party is not entertained. They don't want to hear any of that. They don't want to hear any of it. They want to continue going about their old approach and dismissing everything else as just a whole lot of nonsense. So there's your answer.
Okay. Sorry, you were cutting off for me for a second. Is that
all right? So hate to cut it short, y'all. It is a short struggle session we were gonna have tonight. We started a bit late. That's just gonna be a taste. We're gonna be doing this very frequently. We're gonna be having these struggle sessions. We're gonna be storming the headquarters, and we're gonna be raising awareness about the shortcomings of the Communist Party to make it a real party of the working class. With that being said, I'm going to give you a list of, because I like to be fair. So I'm going to give you a list of, land back leftist theorists that I think you should be reading. And I'm going to give you a list of indigenous socialistic thought that I'm going to, you could read this, decolonization. I'm going to give you a list of very smart American leftist intersectional theorists, right? So the first books you want to pick up and read are, all right. So we're not ending the stream just yet. That was just that. And so I knew it wasn't going to be as hype. So I'm going to go through the list of all the super chat. Thank you so much, George, that I missed to thank everybody. So thank you so much, George Harvey, for that 20. Thank you so much, Gleb, for the 10. Someone you love, thank you for the 5. Johnny with the 5, thank you so much. Chris Morlock, caller thoughts on Cassidy Campbell. Yeah, it did kind of sound like them. Thank you so much for the 2, by the way. Atari with the 20, thank you. Degenerate Gamer, 5 with the 5. Haas has a quantum of imperialism. Appreciate the donation, brother. Degenerate Gaming with the 5. Hawaii is for the blood quantum. Thank you so much, man. Morlock with the 5. Is Jurassic Park just land back propaganda for the dinosaurs? I am not sure. Finny SP with the 5. Actually, fuck you. I'm not gonna. Don't talk shit about Israel. Coding Jesus with the 2. I love the passion energy. I'm a capitalist. Appreciate you, brother. Theodore with the 5. Thank you so much. Not random with the 10. Thank you so much. Morlock with the 5. Thank you. Bodega Man with the 20. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. I think that's it. But yeah, guys, we started out real late tonight, and tonight wasn't gonna be a huge stream. So
Based.
Always love what you do, Oz. I just gotta ask, I don't really know the costs, but do you guys consider somehow commissioning an infrared theme for your loading screen? Music was so good last night.
you mean a music theme? Thank you so much for the 10, by the way. But you mean like a music theme? Oh yeah, we already got one. I already got one lined up for y'all. I do got one lined up for y'all. Actually. All right, guys. It's been good. Don't show on stream. Oh boy. I don't get it. So all these people are just aligned. So all these leftists are literally aligned with Destiny. So it's literally us versus everyone. All of those leftoids and shit, they're all with Destiny. It's them versus us. It's actually crazy. All right. Isn't that Destiny guy a cuck? Isn't that guy a literal cuck? Isn't that little boy? Little bitch ass, gyno ass. By the way, he does have gyno. That shit is confirmed. That dude literally got titties. That dude's literally got titties. That dude's literally got a whole set of titties. He's got those titties pointed up. Dude's literally got gyno and he's a cuck. Oh, bitch ass. I just don't know how I'm supposed to respond anymore. It's like, yeah, that dude's got way more clout than me. He tweets about me, but it's like, what do you want me to say at this point? I don't know how to respond. I really don't know how to respond. Like, am I supposed to be offended? Because I'm not. Am I supposed to see it as an insult? Because I don't, really. It's just kind of confusing. It's like, what are you trying to say? Like, I don't get it. I literally don't even get it. Yeah. I really don't get it. Just stop giving any attention to it. But who does that though? Because I don't have a lot of clout. You guys have to remember, I have 16,000 subscribers on YouTube and I have 15,000 on Twitter. And it's like, this dude's got a lot of clout and he's literally obsessed. So it's like, how am I supposed to, what do you want me to do? Like, what do you want me to do, really? Like, he's a cuck. He's literally a cuck. His wife literally fucks other men, and he just sits there in the other room, and he don't do shit about it. And he's got gyno, he's got titties, and this motherfucker ugly as fuck. Let me tell y'all something. I never told you this. When I met him in person, and I looked at his face, I swear to God, there was something so disturbing about his face. First of all, he was cross-eyed. He had this like cross-eyed look to him, where he was like, he had that kind of weird Ted Bundy look. And I was like, this dude kills people or something. This dude, he does some weird shit. He's hiding something. He's hiding something. And his face, it looked like, it's not gonna make sense. It looked like his whole face was made out of cartilage. Like, it looked like his face was a wax sculpture. It was so disturbing, like he was wearing a mask. If you see him in person, you know what I'm talking about. This dude's ugly as shit. He literally looks like an ear. His whole face looks like an ear. Yeah. We got a dono. Or no, we didn't. Okay. Did I miss that one? No, I didn't. Alright. I have to shit so badly. Nick Land's latest essay. Bro, I'm about to shit my pants if I don't leave. I'll check it out. I'll check it out later. Alright. I'll be seeing y'all. Will I?
Hey. I just want to say goodbye. Goodbye to the people who hated on me. Goodbye to the people who loved me. Goodbye to the people who trusted me. Goodbye, goodbye to everybody. Goodbye to the people who hated on me. Goodbye to the people who loved me. Goodbye to the people who trusted me. Goodbye, goodbye to everybody. Now I need some changes in my life. Now I need to move on in life. Now it's time to say goodbye. Goodbye, goodbye to everybody. Goodbye to the people who hated on me. Goodbye to the people who loved me. Goodbye to the people who trusted me. Goodbye, goodbye to everybody. Goodbye to the people who hated on me. Goodbye to the people who loved me. Goodbye to the people who trusted me. Goodbye, goodbye to everybody. I'm thinking deeply right now. My life with you, it's like ow, I don't know how to explain this. I don't know why it's happening to me, but I just realize I'm not the person I used to be. Now I just wanna leave this city. This bullshit is not gonna happen again. Goodbye to the people who hated on me. Goodbye to the people